Chapter 20 of The Autobiography of a Newspaper Girl by Elizabeth Banks. This recording is in the public domain. Chapter 20 In the Name of Christ. One day, during my career as a New York journalist, I made the acquaintance of a young Englishwoman who had brought to me from London a letter of introduction from a mutual friend. "I want you to know and take an interest in my good friend," the letter ran. "She is an English gentlewoman, the daughter of . She is not happy in England, and for personal reasons she desires to make her home in your country, and it will be necessary for her to earn a livelihood there. She is very intellectual, very bright and clever. When I tell you that she has won my friendship, you will understand that she is worthy of yours." How delightfully English, pretty, stately, yet gentle, was the bearer of this note! She came into my office one afternoon when I was quite alone, and sitting at my desk preparing a synopsis for a new series I wished to begin. The girl was perhaps 24 or 25, with wonderful eyes, and that beautiful English complexion one so often hears about but so seldom sees. She was smartly dressed, but with that unmistakable air of gentility that one learns to know when one has lived some time in London. I knew she was English and belonged to the ranks of gentlewomen when I saw her standing in the office door, and before I heard her speak in her low, musical voice. We shook hands and became friends, and during the week that followed we lunched together at the restaurants in the neighborhood of Newspaper Row. We went to a matinee. She accompanied me on some of my journalistic jaunts, and several times stopped for me at the office when I was kept there late. For a time she said nothing in relation to the subject of gaining a livelihood, and I, thinking she would speak in her own good time, waited for her to approach the subject. "I've had a rest now," she said laughingly one day, when she had been in New York about 2 weeks. "And now comes work. Did not Mrs. tell you in her letter that I was poor and must go to work to earn my daily bread in a new country?" "Yes," I answered. "She said something like that. Now let us go into the subject. What are your assets? I mean, what can you do?" "I've got some talent for writing, and I had thought of journalism," she answered. "I have been watching you at your work, and wondering whether I could not go into it. Can you not help me on this paper?" "You think you would like to be a journalist, and on this paper?" I asked, looking at her in bewilderment. "No, I expect I should hate it, but I must try something." "If there's anything else, you mustn't try it," I said. "I cannot conceive of you as being able to make headway against the fearful odds. I can't explain myself perhaps clearly, but somehow I feel I ought to warn you not to attempt it. Don't think it is for any personal, selfish reasons. I am going back to London soon, and you would have a clear field, so far as I am concerned, but sensational journalism is no calling for you. It has been proving a good thing for me. I needed it. You don't need it, or rather you can't stand it. Now journalism, or let me say writing for the newspapers of a different kind than this, is something of another nature. But with the newspapers at present there's no chance for you to make even the smallest kind of salary, because you have no reputation, no experience, and are English, which will be not at all in your favor as a beginner. The only way to get a start in writing for the papers is first to have a position of some other sort, by which you are assured of a salary to live on. Then, as I know you are brilliant and have a clever pen, you could write for the American papers from the point of view of an English girl, and after a while you would get your start." "Yes, of course that is the ideal way. But what could I do to get the sure salary? You know what my education has been. How I play the piano, speak French and Italian, and have the usual accomplishments of the Englishwoman of my class." "I have it!" I cried. "Though English journalistic beginners are not at a premium in New York, English governesses are all the rage. The fashionable New York mothers like to have their daughters under the care of English gentlewomen. They pay them good salaries and treat them as members of the family, treat them even deferentially. Why, I believe I know of a place for you to step right into. A prominent churchwoman, interested in charities and all that sort of thing, you know, was telling me that she intended to go to England this summer to find a suitable governess for her 2 daughters. They are 15 and 17. She knew I'd lived in England, and she asked my advice as to how to proceed to get what she wanted. I'll recommend you. She'll pay $60 a month and board at the family table, where I understand they haven't as gentle manners as they might have, but perhaps you can teach them something in that line, too." The girl's face was radiant. "Oh, if you could get it for me!" she said. "It is very necessary that I earn something very, very soon. It is not so hard for me, but you see, I have a child." "I did not know you had been married," I said. "I have not been married, but I have a child." The girl looked at me steadily, defiance in her eyes and in her voice. Then she added, half bitterly, "This will make a difference, will it not?" "Yes," I replied, turning to my pen and paper. "It will make a difference, because if you have a child to support, it is all the more necessary you should have this place." "What!" she exclaimed. The bitterness gave way to a pleased surprise. Her eyes filled with tears, and her hands trembled. Then I turned to my desk and wrote: "Madame, a little over 2 weeks ago you told me of your intention of taking an English governess for your daughters, and asked if I could give you any advice or assistance in the matter. I now find I am able to do that. My friend, Miss Blank, lately arrived in New York, is desirous of securing a position as governess in an American family. She is highly educated and accomplished, and, besides being fitted in every way to act as teacher to your daughters, she is, because of her birth, breeding, and manner, suitable to act in the capacity of companion to them. Her father and mother, both dead, were English gentlepeople, and when I say to you that she herself is a thorough, typical English gentlewoman, I feel I can say nothing higher in her praise. I am mailing this letter to you this evening to say that my friend will call upon you to-morrow morning at 11 o'clock." This letter and the visit of the English girl on the following morning resulted in her engagement as governess to the daughters of the New York woman, whom, for convenience sake, I will designate as Mrs. Smith Jones. The place she had obtained was an easy and, in the main, a pleasant one, including among its many enjoyments the Wednesday and Saturday matinees every week, in company with her charges, who were bright, good-hearted, though slightly vulgar, young American girls, whose manners began gradually to improve under the example of the Englishwoman's always perfect address and deportment. We saw one another frequently. She began to write delightful little stories of English life, which she submitted to me for criticism and advice as to the best methods of trying to dispose of them. I knew most of the American newspapers and periodicals, and so was able to put her in the way of those for which her contributions seemed most suitable. There came a time when she told me her story, the sad, commonplace story of innocence betrayed, different only from those stories which are more frequently made public by the fact that she, instead of being a peasant girl or one of lowly origin, was a girl of gentle birth who loved not wisely. Once, during the first month of the girl's engagement, I had a letter from Mrs. Smith Jones thanking me most enthusiastically for having sent my friend to her, and describing her success, not only as governess to her daughters, but in a social way. "She helps me so much in entertaining my guests," wrote Mrs. Smith Jones, "and she is quite the rage with her beautiful English ways. She seems a little sad sometimes, but that, I think, will wear off as she becomes accustomed to America and American ways." Mrs. Smith Jones was one of our enthusiastic women philanthropists. She was interested in many charities, and, being prosperous in this world's goods, was able, as she once informed me, to give a tenth of her income as "tithes to the Lord." She subscribed liberally to newsboys' and bootblacks' funds, gave of her money to the hospitals and the various homes for the poor and the aged, and was particularly interested in what she denominated "rescue work" among New York's unfortunate women. She paid a large subscription every year to several institutions founded for the object of helping the class known as "fallen women." Mrs. Smith Jones used often to tell me about the institutions in which she was interested, in order that I might give them "write-ups." Besides all this, Mrs. Smith Jones was a member of a fashionable church. For her life and for all her actions, so she once told me, she had a motto. It was this: "In the name of Christ." Such was the woman with whom I sent my friend to reside as governess. One afternoon I looked up from the special feature article I was writing upon my typewriter to see Mrs. Smith Jones entering my office door. One glance at her face almost took my breath away. Red, distorted, fiendish. Her hand trembled as she held it out to me, not for a friendly greeting, as had hitherto been her custom, but menacingly, threateningly. "Did you know? Did you know? I say, did you know?" she almost shrieked as she came towards me. "Did I know what?" I asked in astonishment. "Did you know that you sent to me a disreputable character, a woman of loose morals, to live in my house, to teach my daughters, to associate with them, to contaminate them?" I sprang from my desk and confronted her. "How dare you speak to me like that?" I cried. "The woman I sent to your house was my friend, and I do not make my friends among disreputable characters." "Oh, I don't believe you!" screamed Mrs. Smith Jones. "You must have known it. Do you mean to say you didn't know why she left England? That you didn't know she had a child?" "Yes, I knew she had a child. What then?" "What then?" repeated Mrs. Smith Jones. "Do you consider that nothing? Do you consider that no reason why you should not recommend her as a tutor for young girls?" "I consider it a very unhappy circumstance," I replied. "Yet you recommended her to me as a lady, a gentlewoman, as they say in England, fit not only to be a governess, but a companion to my daughters." "Certainly I did. She is all that I said." "Oh, there should be a law to prosecute you for so endangering the morals of pure young girls like mine. It might have gone on for years, had I not found out last night and sent her away, the wicked creature!" My heart gave a throb of terror as I mechanically repeated the words after her. Last night, sent her away! Then I clutched Mrs. Smith Jones's shoulder. "Do you tell me that you sent her away, and at night?" I exclaimed hoarsely. "I am her only intimate friend in New York, and she did not come to me. Where did she go?" "How do I know? Why should I care where she went, so long as I got the terrible creature out of my house and away from my darlings? I noticed her crying over a picture one day, when she didn't know I was looking. I supposed it was a picture of her father or her mother. Yesterday I got hold of the picture. It was that of a child, a little girl that looked the image of her. It was suspicious, but still I was charitable, and desiring to give her the benefit of the doubt, I thought it might possibly be the picture of a little sister who was dead. Last evening I went to her room when she was out, and found lying on the floor a letter which she had dropped. It seemed to be from someone who was taking care of the child for her. I knew the whole disgraceful tale then. When she returned I confronted her, and what did she do? Weep? Repent? Say she was sorry for having deceived me? Confide in me? No! She brazened it out. Admitted the existence of the child, But when I reproached her, she begged me to remember that although I was not a lady myself, I was speaking to one, and would I kindly lower my voice and use proper language? It was 10:30. I gave her just half an hour to pack her trunk, and told her to go." "Told her to go!" I cried. "At 11 o'clock at night! An Englishwoman who doesn't know New York! How much money did you pay her?" "I did not owe her anything. Her last month's wages were paid to her 2 days ago." "You mean you did not pay her a month's salary in advance when you turned her out?" I exclaimed. "Certainly not." "Then she hadn't more than $2 or $3, for she sent her last month's salary to the child. I went with her to the post office when she got the money orders." A faintness and a horror were coming over me. "Where do you think a young woman alone in New York without any money could go at 11 o'clock at night?" I asked. "She could go to a rescue house," replied Mrs. Smith Jones. "Unrepentant as she was, they would have taken her in there. She knows the addresses of several, as she has written letters for me in regard to them." "Rescue home!" I cried. "Rescue home! She, an English gentlewoman, to go to a rescue home with the picked women of the streets and the East Side joints, and wear a plaid dress, or is it a brown and gray stripe, with a scarlet letter A upon her bosom? I had forgotten that you were interested in those pathetically funny institutions, those places where they herd women together and tell them the story of Mary Magdalene, and pray over them, giving them to understand that the crime they have committed is the one that takes the largest amount of the blood of Christ to wash out, if it can be washed out at all, and they teach them to sew and scrub and iron, and then, branding them with a mark, send them out to work against such odds as few women can combat. They take pains to tell the employers that the women have sinned, and to keep a watch on them. The last state of the poor things is worse than the first. Oh, for sending girls to hell, commend me to a Christian woman like yourself interested in rescue work." "Oh, you are a terrible person! Why did I ever take anyone upon your recommendation? Why did I allow myself to forget that you were employed on this sort of newspaper? How could I even allow myself to come here this morning to a woman like you, surrounded probably by dozens of others of your sort, forgetting that you were not of my kind?" "No, we are not of your kind. We are all decent women here. You are the only disreputable person on these premises." An exclamation of horror escaped from Mrs. Smith Jones as she moved toward the door. "Don't go yet," I said, going to the door before her. "I have a little more to say to you, and as it is early, there will be no one here to disturb us for an hour or so." She stared in anger, yet said nothing. "You call yourself a Christian, do you not?" I asked. "What impertinence! Certainly I am a Christian." "Well, I'll just tell you what, as a Christian, you have done. You have turned a young woman who was honorably supporting herself and her child out into the street of a strange city at 11 o'clock at night. Had she come to my boarding house she could have stopped with me, but she was too proud to do that. What do you suppose has become of that young woman, Mrs. Smith Jones?" "I have already told you I do not know, and care less, for she left me unrepentant and brazen to the last." "No, not brazen. She couldn't be that, for she was a lady to the tips of her fingers. Possibly unrepentant because she had nothing to repent of. But let that pass. Have you ever heard, Mrs. Smith Jones, that in this city of New York there are places where such girls are always made welcome at any hour of the day or night? Now it is sad, but it is strangely true, that into the mind of almost every woman who knows herself to possess the attractions of youth and beauty, and finds herself in such a position as that in which my friend found herself last night, there comes suddenly the devil-inspired thought that her body is an asset, and there are not wanting those who can direct her to marts where it may be sold. Sometimes, Just as the dreadful thought comes to her, there is a hand stretched out to help her and snatch her as a brand from the burning. It is usually the hand of a man, Mrs. Smith Jones, a man of the world, a man of honor, a man who knows life and so feels pity in his heart. Not often, Mrs. Smith Jones, do women engage in this work of salvation. Many of them, like yourself, are too much interested in rescue homes to pay any attention to tragedies like this that are occurring all around them. But often, Mrs. Smith Jones, there is no one near with the will or the power to save them. And then I was on the verge of breaking down, but I rallied and turned to her with bitter hatred in my face and in my heart. And this is what I, knowing women and life as I do know them, believe that you have done to my friend. I do not believe I shall ever find her, though I shall try. You, who say you live by the motto, in the name of Christ, you have done this. Now you may go. I moved away from the door, and Mrs. Smith Jones passed out of the office. I went to my desk, trying to again compose my thoughts for my work, but it was not easy. I had been preaching a sermon, and sermons were not in my line. Too wrought up for ordinary occupation, I closed my desk, put on my hat, and went out into the street. The great skyscrapers, the clouds of people, the loud jingle of the cable cars greeted me and seemed to laugh, in all their bigness, at me in my littleness and powerlessness. I suddenly realized the futility of searching, and I went back to the office despairing, baffled, defeated. "Just been inquiring for you," said one of the editors as I returned to my desk. "See what there is in this charity entertainment for next week, will you? Something to do with providing homes for orphan children, I believe. Go and see some of the women that are interested in it. Here's the list." I looked it over, and prominent among the names was that of Mrs. Smith Jones. End of chapter 20.